guys, and welcome back to my very first official summer camp Q&A for the 2024 season, which is wild to even say out loud that I'm making videos that's going to help people prepare for summer 2024. Like, it's crazy to me, but I love doing camp Q&As. It's probably one of my favorite kind of videos to film because I just love like quick firing some questions out, giving you some answers. And yeah, if you have any questions at all, camp related or not, leave them down below or drop me a message. I make lots of camp Q&A videos because, like I say, I find they're probably my most useful videos to you guys, so they're the ones I like getting at the most. But yeah, I do find when I do these, a lot of the questions are quite specific to obviously the camp that I worked at. Now, it's quite hard to give any insight on any other camps because I've only ever worked at one camp. So in the main, a lot of these questions might apply to camps in general or the application as a whole, but please just bear in mind that every experience at every camp will be completely different. So don't take this as facts. If I say something goes at my camp, it might not go for other camps. So just bear that in mind. And if you have any questions about specific camps in particular, you're best off reaching out to them direct or trying to find someone that also went to that camp and getting that information from them. Okay, but I've got some questions on my phone. I'm just going to quickly run through them. So yeah, thanks for watching and I hope you enjoy. Okay, first question, I'm just going to talk about what my favourite thing is about camp. Now, this is actually such a hard question to answer because I love everything about camp. Like, camp as a whole is such a happy place for me and it has genuinely become my summer home and I can't see myself spending my time anywhere else. But I think for me, my favourite thing about camp is the people and just how welcome you feel straight away and the connections you can form, the people you meet and the memories you make as well. And that all stems from the people at camp, and you'll meet some amazing people when you go. And honestly, some of my best friends, pretty much all of my best friends I have made whilst doing summer camp, whether it was back in 2018, which was my first summer, or this past summer just gone. So yeah, it's an amazing, honestly it is an amazing place, and the people will be lifelong friendships and connections and relationships that you will genuinely treasure forever. But a big thing for me is just how open and welcome the whole vibe is when you get to camp. At Tyler Hill, when you step off the bus, in my opinion, you genuinely feel like you've got home and everyone comes and hugs you, introduces themselves, and you're like, hang on, this is crazy. Like, I've never met these people before. I don't know who anyone is, but everyone is so welcoming and so loving that you do feel like you've walked straight into the arms of a giant, crazy, big family. But yeah, that's definitely my favourite thing, the people. It's amazing. Okay, next up, one of my most asked questions is phone policies. Now, this is obviously something that will vary from camp to camp. Some camps will have a completely different phone policy, or it might be the same. Like, again, it's something you need to ask in interviews if that's something that you really want to know information on. Now, for me, like, the phone policy really doesn't matter at camp because I'm going to go regardless and I'm going to have an amazing time. In terms of being able to communicate with home, you'll always be able to do that at my camp. Anyway, if anyone ever needed to phone home or check in on someone or do something, you always were given the opportunity to do so. I think if you're an international staff member, you've obviously come from really far away. You've travelled. This could be your first time away from home, your first time going to America, your first time doing something like this. So camps want you to feel secure in knowing that you can contact home whenever you need to, obviously within reason. If it's hours and hours every day, that's obviously not it's not going to work. But if it was first thing in the morning or when you had a night off, or if I had a counsellor come up to me and say, oh, like, I just really need to check on home, like, can I take 20 minutes? I'm like, of course, like, please go. Because I think at the end of the day, it all comes back to how a counsellor is feeling really affects how everyone else around them feels, and we want to make sure that everyone is in this happy, positive headspace, if that makes sense. I feel like I went off on a bit of a tangent there, but phone policies, please don't let that be the be all and end all, depending on what camp you go to. If a camp that you love the look of has a really strict phone policy where you have to keep your phones locked up, don't let that put you off going to that camp, because the phone policy is nothing, and genuinely you will be on your phone so little throughout the summer, which I personally love. I think it's an amazing way to disconnect from a lot of things on the outside world. You'll find you genuinely won't pick up your phone, and even on time off when you're going out with new friends, you won't be going on your phone. It's just the way that it goes most of the time, that you're just having so much fun that your phone is honestly the last thing on your mind. But yeah, phone policies can change. I've been at camp for quite a few different phone policies. My first year, it was very relaxed. It was just kind of like, don't be on it around the kids, but there wasn't too many strict rules around it. And then my second summer, we had to keep our phones locked away in little lockers, but we were more than welcome to go and get them whenever we needed to. If we had a period off, if we got up early in the morning, if we had an evening off, anything like that, the phones were there for us to get at any time. And then this past summer, it was kind of a mixture of the two. It was where, like, your phones could be kept in the bunk, they didn't have to be locked away, but you weren't to be seen on it, which is kind of how it would go at any job really. And just make sure you're staying present. Like, that's my biggest tip, is that when you're at camp, if you're sat on your bunk on your phone, you're so not participating in camp by doing that. Obviously every now and then you're going to lie in your bed, you're going to quickly check your phone, see if you've had any messages from home, but if you're spending the whole of rest hour or the whole of the morning lying on bed on your phone, you're missing out on so much. It's actually unreal. So make sure you stay connected, and just realise that these kids around you, they haven't got access to a phone, they haven't got access to any of that. So make sure that you're present, and the relationships you build with them and vice versa will be so much better than if you spend all your time on your phone. At Tyler Hill, we can obviously have our phones out for like music in the bunk and stuff, or if we're taking photos, but I really recommend taking cameras and stuff as well. So yeah, phone policies will vary camp to camp and even year to year. Like I say, I've experienced a few different ones. So, but make sure it's just not going to put you off from going to a certain camp, because your phones are really irrelevant whilst you're at camp. Okay, a question I actually get asked a lot is, do specialist counsellors need to have like qualifications or experience? So kind of just like, how do we hire specialist staff based on their past experiences, qualifications, all of that stuff. So at Tyler Hill especially, you do not have to be qualified to do a certain thing. Obviously a qualification will help massively. Like for example, I am a level 2 women's artistic gymnastics coach, and that massively helped me in getting a job role at camp. But I've worked at camp in the gymnastics department for 3 years, and most people don't have that kind of qualification. And a big thing that I find that camps look out for is a passion for something, or just some sort of experience doing it. And just having a general understanding, I think, is really important. Like obviously there's no point really you wanting to teach tennis if you've never played tennis. Obviously you've got to go within reason, but you'll find at most camps you'll have some sort of training as a specialist counsellor when you get there, just to kind of go through the ins and outs and just make sure you have a brief idea of kind of how the program is run. At Tyler Hill, near enough every single athletic department has a director of that area, so you've always got someone to go to, and even if you haven't got a director, there's a whole athletics program that you can go to and always ask for help. Now a big thing I get asked as well is, do you have to prepare like lesson plans and schedules and activities and stuff? And the answer is really, again, going to depend on the camp completely, and also depend on the area that you work in. When I've been at gymnastics, it's kind of been really nice and relaxed in a sense that we just bounce off each other. You also have to know that you have to be so adaptable at camp. If you have a group come down that you weren't expecting to come down, you've got to think on your feet, and you've got to know that what you originally had planned isn't going to work. So yeah, and a big thing you have to remind yourself at camp is that this is the kids' summer. Like it's their summer away from school and away from home, so making things fun and enjoyable and playing a lot of games and just doing different things like that is going to be much more fun for you and for them. So yeah, to sum that up, you don't need to have a specific qualification. Again, some camps might have a completely different policy to that. At Tyler Hill, if you want to be a lifeguard or work on the media team or outdoor adventure, you'll arrive a few days earlier and have like full training beforehand, even if you're already a qualified lifeguard back home. Which I think is really nice to know that you're all going through that training together, making sure you're all on the same understanding, because doing things in different places, like coaching gymnastics back home for me is so different than doing it at camp. So yeah, make sure you think on your feet, and just remember you're not in this on your own. So you've got so many other people in your athletics or specialty area to bounce off and to come up with new ideas and to do different things and to make the program what you want it to be. You've got all that flexibility, which is so nice. Okay, another big question I get asked is, do you have a say in kind of what age group you work with when you're at camp? Now, again, sorry, this is going to depend on the camp completely, but I assume that a lot of camps will work this way. And at my camp during orientation, you'll be sat down with head staff and you just have a brief conversation just to check in and say like, oh, what kind of age group are you wanting to work with? What experience do you have with this age group? What are kind of your hobbies? Or like, try and get a sense of your personality, and just know that camp knows what they're doing when they place you in a certain division or a certain age group. They know where you're going to work best. And I've said this a million times and I'll continue to say it, but Meg, one of my best friends at camp, she had her first summer at camp last year, and she was adamant that she wanted to work with the freshman girls, which is like our youngest division on camp. Like 6 and 7 years old, she really wanted these kids. And she gets to camp and she's having her conversations, and she's given off a vibe of an upper camp counsellor, and the head staff said that to her. They said, look, we're not going to push you to go somewhere you really don't want to go, but please just be open-minded about this. We think you'll really thrive in an upper camp position, like just think about it. And she did. She ended up going for it. She worked with teens, which was the second oldest division on camp, and she absolutely loved it. Like, she had the best time. So just know that camp directors and head staff know what they're doing. They've done this for years. They know where you're going to work best, and they also know the kids. They know which personalities the kids are going to really get along with and what you'll have in common with them. So yeah, you do have a say in it, but please go in with an open mind. And if they say, oh, we think you'll work really well here, please trust the process. Oh, another one I get asked a lot is actually how many campers and counsellors are in a bunk, kind of what's the ratio. Now, again, this has differed for me every summer I've been at camp. So my very first summer we had 10 girls in the bunk and there were 4 counsellors, which is normally pretty average. Between 10 to 12 kids in a bunk is normally, I think, what goes across the board. And then between like 3 to 5 counsellors, I think I'd say. But my second summer at camp, we had 10 kids in the bunk and 7 counsellors, which was crazy. We had so many staff that year. And then this last year I was a division leader this year, so I looked after an entire group of girls. There was 28 girls in my division and we had 2 bunks. There was 14 kids in each and then 4 counsellors in each. So I'd say between 10 and 12 kids is the norm, I think. But like I say, I've had 14. I know some bunks that had 8. It just kind of depends on the age group you work with and how big the division is and how many staff you've got. But yeah, 10 to 12 and then 3 to 5 counsellors. And within those counsellors, you've obviously got generals and you'll have specialist counsellors. Normally there's slightly more generals than there will be specialists. So say if there's 5 counsellors in a bunk, you'll probably have 3 that are generals and 2 that are specialists. But again, yeah, that will vary. So maybe again, that's a really good question to ask on an interview and just get a little bit of a feel of how big the bunks will be and how many staff you'll be working with. Okay, next I'm going to talk about is time off. Now, I'm going to make a whole video dedicated to time off because I know it's something that a lot of people have questions about, but I'm just going to briefly touch on it and explain how time off works at Tyler Hill. So for example, say we have a Wednesday day off. When you're a specialist at Tyler Hill, you normally always have Wednesday day off because that's our lazy Wednesday at camp. So normal activities are closed because all the specialists are on their day off. So if you have a Wednesday day off, your day off would start from 9:30 on the Tuesday night, and you can go out, you can stay off camp, you don't have to return back to camp. You have off from 9:30 on Tuesday all the way through Tuesday night, all day Wednesday, and then technically you have to come back at 12:30, technically Thursday morning, but it's obviously just very late Wednesday. So basically it's just till like midnight. So you get a full day off, and you can do so much within this time off, which is great. We also would get a Friday night off and a Sunday night off. So technically you get 4 nights off and 1 full day off a week. And then on a Saturday evening, we have staff meetings and nights off rotate round. So we would get the night off every like 2 or 3 weeks, but we had to stay on camp because of staff meetings. So we could have the night off, but we stayed on camp, which is quite nice. But kind of examples of things to do on time off, the buses would normally take us out to Walmart or out for food, out to the bar. There's loads of different things to do. Like, it obviously depends on where your camp's located, but there's always going to be something nearby, like whether it's a little town or a city or something. But yeah, on days off, we could go to a place called White Lake and rent like these boats, and sometimes we'd tie them all together and have this huge boat party out on the water and have just like food and drinks and go swimming, and it was really nice. Honestly, it's so much fun. Or we'd go to a place called Skinner's, which was kind of like, it's like a lake, like a rocky, lakey area where people can go swimming again. People just lie on the rocks in the sun. Again, there's like Woodbury Commons nearby, which is a big shopping outlet. We could go to New York on our day off. Some people went to Philly, I think, last year, or Boston. So yeah, there's so much to do. And again, maybe it's a good question to ask on an interview, kind of what things are there to do on time off, or how do camp get you to places on time off? Because again, every camp will be different. At Tyler Hill, we have buses that run and they'll get us places on our time off so we can get out, because obviously most people don't have cars. So yeah. Okay, and also another thing I get asked a lot is how do I get from the airport to camp? Again, something to please ask in an interview to find out. If you're traveling for the first time, I know how daunting it can be to just be told, right, you're gonna get on a bus and we'll pick you up here. Like, that terrifies me, and I had to do that my first year and I was like, oh my god, this is stressful. But now at my camp, they pick us up from the airport. So if we fly into Newark Airport, Newark only, not any other airports in New York, there'll be like a big coach waiting for us. It'll leave at a certain time, and there'll normally be staff from Tyler Hill that have already been there waiting to kind of check you in and then take you to the bus, and the bus will take you back to camp. So yeah, something to definitely ask on an interview if that's something that you want to know in advance and plan about, because there are definitely other options. Like, I had to get the bus from Port Authority in New York, and it drove me all the way to a little town just outside of camp, and then camp picked me up from there. So there's definitely options, but I love the fact that we get picked up at the airport now. It just makes the whole process so much smoother. Okay, I think I'm gonna round that off here. I'm going to do lots more Q&As, so please don't worry. If you do have any questions specifically you want me to answer, please leave them down below and I'll make another video, because like I say, I love filming these and I just love getting the info out to you guys. But yeah, get excited. The fact that you're watching this either means that you've just got back from summer at camp and you're missing camp and you're wanting to hear someone talk about it, or you're planning to go either next year or in a few years, which is so exciting. And I can't believe that the summer is going to come around this quick. Like, I'm going to blink and we're going to be going to camp again, which is wild. So yeah, thank you for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.